This is Sebastian Griffin Tay Kian Guan. Now, I would like to make clear to my mother, to reaffirm my mother, that I'm not interested to establish any business of my own in Malaysia. Now, as for the shares or whatever shares of businesses or investment or assets inherited to me by my grandparents, I will assess separately. But myself, I'm not interested to invest anything other than what inherited to me by my family members. I definitely would not consider Malaysia or ASEAN in this context, except for Singapore. The reason being for Malaysia is I think I have avidly spoken about NEP, New Economy Policy, and various issues in Malaysia that I believe is unfair. I believe it is violation of human right, and in fact it is also a violation of Malaysia constitutions. So that is how serious it is. Now, to a certain extent, those racist policy might be even unlawful, but that will have to be determined by the court. Somebody have to bring it to the court. I do not know whether Malaysia have a constitution court or not. In other countries like India, they do have constitution court where they trial on the constitution matter. Malaysia legal system is a bit different. Malaysia have federal court being the highest court of the land, and also of course there's a court of apex and all that. But I'm not a legal practitioner, and I do not intend to bring the matter to court. In fact, I believe uh, all these issues should be resolved by politicians or some others person that actively uh, participate, whether politically or in the business sector and the private sector in Malaysia, because it affects them more than anyone, especially real estate property developers and all that. They are the one that being affected the most. Definitely not me, because the reason why is I do not want to get affected by NEP, and I do not want to entangle with all these issues and tangle with Malaysian government. I do not want to fight Malaysian government. I also want to make clear that I have no problem with Islam. I have no problem with Malay, the Australasians. Malay being one of the sub-ethnic of Australasians. I do not have problem with Malay, especially Malay other than Malayan Malay. I used to work in Singapore. The Malay over in Singapore is very friendly, very smart. They are as competitive as the Chinese. There is no problem. Literally, there is no difference between Chinese and Malay in a political environment like Singapore. And therefore, I believe the Malay is equally competent and equally capable as the Chinese or anyone else for the matter. Uh, so I want to state my stand very clear. Now, previously I spoke about Islam. I did point out about the violent verses found in the Quran and also Hadith. The reason being for me to brought all this up is because I will use that as a basis to substantiate my claim that under Constitution Article 160, that define or that interpret the Malay as a race that professes Islam should not be the case for Article 153, which is given special privileges just because that person is professes in the religion of Islam, and therefore being interpreted as a Malay to enjoy all that, because that will contradict to the Article 8 of the Constitution. Now, if I were to elaborate what I claim to be unconstitutional, it will be a very lengthy video. But over here, I just want to make myself clear that I would not participate in Malaysia economy actively because there are certain issues or certain policies that is unlawful and unconstitutional, and therefore I do not think I will invest in Malaysia until all these issues has been resolved. That means the violations of human right, the unconstitutional policy, and also previously there are also many other policies that is contradict to the Malaysia agreement 1963. And Malaysia is a federation, consists of a few states. Now, without Malaysia agreement, there is no Malaysia. Malaya, or the Federation of Malaya, is only limited to the territory within Peninsula. It does not encroach into Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. Now, the Federation of Malaysia, it consists previously, that originally consists of Singapore, Malaya, Sabah, and Sarawak. Of course, Singapore exit in the year 1965. So left only three states: Sabah, Sarawak, and Malaya. So I have to make my stand very clear, and I will manage my own property asset myself. Now, in the event that I want to dispose my property or asset off, I will dispose it off myself, and definitely will liquidate as much as possible those real estate property in Malaysia, especially those non-land real estate property in Malaysia, and the proceed of which I will use it to invest in other country. Now, this is my personal stand. I'm not encouraging anyone to follow my footstep. There are so many minority, that means Chinese, Indian, and Orang Asal. They do not want to do anything about it. They live as usual, stated quote. So I'm not asking anyone to join me, but this is my personal principles